belongs to everyone. The best things in life are free. The stars belong to everyone. They gleam there for you and for me. The flowers in spring, the robins that sing, the sun.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another edition of Community Awareness Series Spotlight on the Community. Community Awareness Series, we are the Cultural Arts Department for the Jersey City Free Public Library. And during these segments, we like to highlight the community members here in Jersey City and elsewhere that are doing wonderful, positive work in the community. And this edition, we're going to be highlighting some of our urban parks, our green spaces here in Jersey City, the people, the activists, the folks that are committed to making sure that our green urban space remains protected, preserved, and that is here for the quality of life for those of us that live in these type of areas. I'm going to introduce Mr. Sam Pesin, who has been a long-term activist here in Jersey City, and he is the president of the Friends of Liberty State Park, and he has been a champion committed to the cause of preserving Liberty State Park. And our other guest will be the president of Canco Park Conservancy, Ms. Giambalvo, and like Sam, the two of them have been very committed to making sure that we have quality of life in our green spaces and honestly for our sanity living in a city. So with that, I want to introduce Sam Pesin. And Sam, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Sam, for this opportunity to talk about open, green, public, urban spaces and about Liberty State Park. Thank you to the great institution of the Community Awareness Series for your decades of work, of education and cultural programs. And as human beings, we need culture, we need open space. And open space and culture are certainly related to people's quality of life and economic development in a city. My father, Morris Pesin, used to say a city is a dead place without arts and culture. The public space of Liberty Park is truly sacred and priceless. It's sacred because it is very scarce, urban, green, open space, and it is sacred because it is behind the world's greatest symbol of freedom and democracy. The park, as the pandemic has shown even more clearly, is a public health resource for our mental health, physical health, spiritual health, and our emotional health. And the park really must be protected for future generations. The park has been called the urban backyard of Jersey City and of this region. And it's been called America's Park because it's behind the Statue of Liberty. And also my father, Morris Pesin, the father of the park, and Audrey Zapp, the godmother of the park, has called the park the People's Park, which it is, because it belongs to the people, all people. And going down to the park on any nice weekend, it's easy to see the enjoyment of people of all religions and skin colors and cultural backgrounds enjoying themselves together. The park, any urban park, strengthens our lives, strengthens our families, and strengthens our communities. The park is a treasure, a recreational, natural, historic, and cultural treasure. The brief history of the park is that my father took my family to the Statue of Liberty on a May Day in 1957, and it took about 2.5 hours with traffic and missing a boat and finding parking, and he got to the Statue of Liberty with us and looked toward Jersey City, so close by, and he saw a shameful backdrop to the statue. an abandoned waterfront, abandoned rail yards and decaying piers, and just a junk-strewn garbage dump of a shoreline where people have been dumping mattresses and refrigerators, and the railroads had been in decline. And so he went to the city council. Well, a year later, he took a canoe trip with a reporter, an 8-minute canoe trip to show the close proximity of the Jersey City waterfront to the statue, an 8-minute canoe trip, and then he went to the city council to say, hey, we have here at our doorstep the world's greatest symbol of freedom, and we haven't taken advantage of it, and the people deserve a park, and also a park would be a catalyst for development on the Jersey City waterfront. And also, he emphasized the need for access from New Jersey, from Jersey City, to the Statue of Liberty. And so, thus began an 18-year public movement, citizens movement, to create Liberty Park. It took years to convince the state to do the right thing and to find funding. There were civic and religious and business groups who got involved. Ted Conrad, the local preservationist who helped save the Brennan Courthouse and helped save the Lowe's Theater, he did an architectural model basically of trees and some parking spaces and nearby Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island, just to capture people's imagination. It was before developers had their eyes on the waterfront, and the timing was right. In 1965, Jersey City donated about 156 acres of Jersey City land to be the initial acres of Liberty Park. So a bond issue was passed by New Jersey, and that gave money to the state to buy land from the railroads. And people of New Jersey have always supported these Green Acres bond issues because people value open space and parks in this state. And so the park opened in 1976. Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts raised the 50 state flags, and which were on Pesin Drive in the entrance of the park. Now they're on Freedom Way in the middle of the park. And the Scouts lifted up the 13 major big American flags at the Flag Plaza. And the park was off and running with the initial 35 acres. And then within a year, privatization battles started. That governor wanted to give most of the park to his friend to turn the whole park into an amusement theme park. Then 4 years later, it was an amusement theme park and condos and shopping, and the people rose up and stopped it. The same governor, wanted to give the whole historic railroad terminal to his friend for a doll and toy museum. It would have been an admission fee at museum, and that was stopped. And then there were plans for a 25,000 seat amphitheater that would have turned the park into a commercial concert venue with weekend traffic blocking access to the regular people. Then there was a water park plan, commercial water park for 5,000 swimmers a day around 2001, and that would have caused weekend traffic jams to regular people who want to enjoy the park. And there were other battles over the years, and so now there's an effort to pass the Liberty State Park Protection Act to once and for all end these battles. We need, the people deserve this park for future generations, and this law would keep major privatization out of the park and would allow for small-scale commercial activities like a winter ice skating rink, food vendors, after-hours use of the terminal, bike and kayak rentals, things like that. And the Protection Act is such a no-brainer, and what's needed is for the governor to take a public stand on the Protection Act, for the legislature to pass it. The current battle is against the adjoining owner, the billionaire owner of the golf course, Liberty National Golf Course, who wants to privatize and bulldoze a 22-acre natural area of the park to relocate golf holes for his multi-millionaire members. And so He's used his influence to stop the Protection Act in 2 legislative sessions. It's reintroduced again by the champions, Assemblyman Raj Mukherjee, Assemblywoman Angela McKnight, Senator Stack. We need public support to get more sponsors for the Protection Act around the state and to make it a reality, because then we will have a peaceful, collaborative era at Liberty State Park. The great big project that's happening now is the interior of the park, 235 acres, will be remediated with tens of millions of dollars of Exxon pollution settlement money. There's almost all of it is low-level historic fill contamination, which would require, I think, about a foot of clean fill in most of that acreage. And then there will be created with the pollution money, which has to go for nature restoration, there will be diverse habitats. Some forested area, freshwater salt marsh, or freshwater wetlands, and then a tidal salt marsh bringing a channel of the Hudson River from near the large playground under Freedom Way and into the interior. So it'll be great for students, for all people, for wildlife, to have one of the greatest urban nature areas in the entire world. And also because this Department of Environmental Protection is open to active recreation after the DEP didn't allow that for all of its history, except for a couple of years when Mayor Cunningham was in office, and he had an initiative that just didn't happen when he passed away and the DEP changed its mind. Except for those couple of years, the DEP has always said that they don't allow active recreation in state parks. But Jersey City, being the neighbor of Liberty Park and the recreational needs in the park, this DEP with Olivia Glenn, the Deputy Commissioner for Environmental Justice and Equity, has supported active recreation. There was a year of public meetings, 3,600 people responded to surveys, and there's going to be 50 acres of active recreation inside the interior and 3 spots adding up to 11 acres outside the interior of active recreation. So those plans are in the works. The 11 acres hopefully can start even within a year, and the whole interior, including the 50 acres of active recreation and the habitats, might not even be done till 2027. But this is going to be a great future of the park, and the park will be like Central Park for unstructured active recreation, like choose-up ball games and biking and walking and families and friends throwing balls together and kicking balls. So unstructured recreation, and then passive recreation, picnics and just people relaxing and taking in the views and uplifting their spirits. And then also now the 61 acres of active recreation. And so then the last part of the park that would need work is the sheds of the railroad terminal. I think it's under those sheds, there's maybe 5 football fields worth of space, and there's asbestos in the concrete roof, which has to be taken care of. But that space can be used in a variety of ways for cultural festivals, Renaissance fairs, food vendors, things like that. So what's needed is the public, even after the Protection Act, God willing, passes, for the public to stay involved with and be vigilant about Liberty State Park's future, because that's key messages of the park, that people can make a difference, have a dream, have a vision, persevere, whether on your block, in your neighborhood, in your city, in your state, national, international issues, to care and to speak out in whatever way you can to make the world a better place. And so the fact that people's voices are needed, and that people's activism is so crucial. What a world we would have if it wasn't for the visionaries and the activists throughout history, driving the world toward a more loving and a more just place. So whether it's been the culmination of the civil rights laws in the 1960s, and the recent push toward human rights and civil rights, and there's always obstacles like the voter suppression laws in some states now, but as Dr. King spoke about, the arc of the moral universe, I'm not saying it right, will be moving in the right direction, but as President Obama emphasized, we need to work together to push that arc, to bend the arc in the right direction. So Liberty Park is symbolic of the world in that we have people, diverse people, enjoying the park and working for decades to oppose privatization, no matter what money was promised by privatizers, to say that this is our urban open space, it is integral to our quality of life, and that we must, for future generations, we must protect it. So the park is a microcosm of the world, of people's actions have made a difference and always will make a difference, and let's hope that the park will be protected and that our whole world will move toward a society, a civilization with the humanistic values that care about everyone, that cares about equality and justice and peace and love.
Thank you, Sam Pesin, for all the wonderful and committed work that you have done over the decades to maintaining and ensuring that this park that we've enjoyed here, especially if you grew up here in Jersey City, but really enjoyed by many folks from different parts of the world, to maintaining that it is protected, ensure that we have this wonderful green urban space. So with that, we're happy that you could have joined us here at Liberty State Park as we stopped with Mr. Sam Pesin, who is the president of the Friends of Liberty State Park. And next stop, we're going to be visiting Canco Park Conservancy, and the president there is Ms. Dawn Giambalvo. So we're going to get on the road and we're going to go over to Canco Park Conservancy. Thank you. Okay, so now we are here at Canco Park, another one of our treasured urban green spaces here in Jersey City. We just came from Liberty State Park visiting Sam Pesin. Now we're here with the wonderful Dawn Giambalvo, who is the president of Canco Park Conservancy, and the vice president, her husband, Kevin Link, who can't be here today, but he's here in spirit. Canco Park is kind of near and dear to me, as we've met them in the last 2 years during the pandemic, and Community Awareness Series has had an opportunity to do programming here during the summers. They are also champions, activists, advocates for our urban green spaces here in Jersey City. And they have really been holding the fight down to doing workshops and programming based around environmental awareness. And they have an initiative here going on about natural native plants and bringing native wildlife to this area. So we thank them for their hard work, and I'm going to get ready to turn it over to Dawn. And Dawn, thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Canco Park Conservancy is part of the Jersey City Parks Coalition. We're recognized by the Audubon Society, the National Wildlife Federation, the North American Butterfly Association, the New York Bee Sanctuary, and a number of other groups for our wildlife habitat and for our citizen science projects. Canco Park Conservancy Board has its mission, but we've also got a belief. I wanted to read this directly from our card. We believe that providing park goers with a visceral experience in a natural, open, green space environment fosters empathy, inclusivity, and respect for each other and the natural world, furthering improvement in the health and welfare of all visitors. It's a weighty statement. It's a weighty statement on a weighty topic. The importance of open green space for all of us here in a city is that it's open to everyone. It's open to everyone. It can be so many things to so many people. Coming with friends, meeting your neighbors, meeting a new friend, expanding out into the community, holding from 1 person to 200, Canco Park represents a gathering space where you can meet your neighbors and meet friends you haven't even met yet. Some come here for the music, and some come here for the wildlife. When we aren't gathering as a community, the park is quiet and it gets to rest. Like right now, in the middle of the day with a light drizzle, we take turns in this flexible green space. This is the power of open space at its most equitable. It can be different things for different people, but really, like, how lucky are we to have this space right here in our city for all of us? So consider this an invitation. Come visit Canco Park. It's beautiful here. The programming is amazing. The volunteer opportunities are really interesting and exciting. We have a great time here, and we'd love to see you. Follow our social media to find out what's coming up next, especially our Instagram, and sign up for notifications. We can't wait to see you.
So with that, we want to thank you again for joining us here on another edition of Spotlight in the Community, joining us at the Community Awareness Series of the Jersey City Free Public Library. We want to thank Don Giambalvo, the president of Canco Park Conservancy, and Sam Pesin, the president of the Friends of Liberty State Park. They have been the champions, the activists, and the advocates of our urban green spaces that we do not have enough here in this ever-growing urban city environment. And, educating us, spreading awareness, teaching children, families, and being so open and inviting. We thank them for their hard work, and of course we're going to follow them closely as they continue doing all the positive things in the community. So with that, thank you again. Take care.